102.7 FM. Ìlú gbogbo ènìyàn.
Kẹtẹlé náà sókè but nígbà nílé ìjọ sọ̀rọ̀ bá ṣe sọ̀rọ̀ wọ́n fẹ́ sọ̀rọ̀ tẹ́ẹ̀fẹ́ lọ́wọ́ orílẹ̀ ẹ̀fà wálẹ̀ ilé lọ ẹ̀fà wálẹ̀ àbí kẹfà ilé sókè láwọn bá a sọ̀rọ̀ tí music máa lọ bí ilé.
láti máa sọ̀rọ̀ báyìí sí máa fún àpẹẹrẹ ẹsẹ̀ àti ìdákọ̀dà tó gbé àyè aṣọ ìmọ̀ òkè ilé nìkan rẹ̀.
kò sí ilé àwà lókè.
sórí olùgẹ́tì dáhùn sí.
olùgẹ́tì sílẹ̀ tún yẹ sílẹ̀.
Tabuko instrumental ni àbí tí òun ń play àbí.
ilé náà wà lára ìkọ̀ fún àbíbọ̀ ilé ìgbẹ́kọ̀ ní mo fẹ́
ní òṣìṣẹ́ ni.
ó jẹ́ òṣìṣẹ́.
Music news, sports and entertainment. We are high power 102.7 FM. Thriving.
A wise man once said, if education is expensive, try ignorance. It is a maiden edition on your famous and informative program, on your most informative, educative, and entertaining program, Education Today. This is a program structured to bring to you the importance of education, purpose of education, and most importantly, what makes up being educated. And the type of education we've acquired or proposing to acquire, either by ourselves or our children. This program is structured segmentally in the following order. First, educational news based on government policies, news from primary schools to tertiary institutions, and trending information. While the second segment exhibits the beauty of literature, where you rate your listening pleasure, literature materials on prose, drama, and poetry from both local and foreign publications. And the last segment provides the opportunity to our esteemed listener to call in to hear their views and contribute to any topical issue of discussion. It is on this note that I say welcome on board as we journey down the adventure of this program. My name is AKIN ADEBAYO. You're welcome back. To start this program, we are going to discuss briefly the full concept of education, which is holistic and a lifelong process of acquiring knowledge, either in skills and positive attitude to develop an individual innate potentials for both personal growth and societal contribution. Now, education moves beyond formal schooling. It encompasses the formal, which is within the structural institution, and the non-formal, which is structured outside the schools, and the informal learning, which deals with our daily experiences. The goal is to transform individuals into cultured, refined, and capable people who can contribute meaningfully to their various communities and the world. Like I said earlier, we shall be discussing on the full concept of education. We start with the lifelong process. And this has to do with the education which begins at birth and continues throughout life with various experiences shaping characters and understanding. Equally, the holistic development. This aims to develop the whole person's, his mind, body, and spirit, which fosters a balanced and competent individual. Like we said earlier on, education transcends the normal, conventional, structural institutions where we learn how to read and write. And this brings us to the knowledge and skill acquisition, which is another segment of education. Education involves learning and gaining knowledge, but also develop the reasoning powers and practical skills needed for matured life. Character and attitudinal development. A professor of Johns Hopkins once said, "It's good to be somebody with good character with lesser education than to build an educatedly corrupt person that bastardize the whole system." It is on this that I bring to you again a significant aspect of education that is fostering positive attitudes, sound character traits, and a refined cultural disposition. Cultural and transmission and socialization. Education transmits the cultural values and the tradition of a society from one generation to the next, integrating individuals into their social environment. Before we go further, I want us to know that Cavella said that education is in various segments. We have to deal now with learned centers. We deal with modern educational emphasis. It's the learner-centered approach, focusing on nurturing inherent abilities through interaction and experience rather than just note memorization. The society also plays a pivotal role in what constitutes education, which brings us to the societal contribution of education. This is the ultimate goal: to produce well-rounded, productive citizens who can stand on their own feet and contribute positively to the society and the world. Like I earlier said, we have various forms of education. We'll be starting with the formal education. The formal education is a structured learning within institutions like schools, colleges, and universities, following a defined curriculum. While the non-formal education is an organized learning activities outside the formal system, such as community programs or workshops. The last on the list of forms of education is the informal education. This kind of education is unstructured learning that occurs through daily experiences, interactions, and everyday life. Moving further, education should go beyond learning. Education should go beyond learning theories, but the practical aspect is also very important. So when you go to the university, you are holding a certificate. The question is, what does it qualify you to do? Education should be functional, impact knowledge, and provide wisdom. So, literacy is what we learn in the university. Therefore, education that is not relevant to give you the capacity to manage the affairs of your life and environment, and to provide solutions to problems and challenges, is not an impactful education. But education through skills acquisition, such as organizing, tailoring, plumbing, electrician, and bricklaying, just to mention but a few, provide solutions to challenges or problems, and still brings income to the artisans. With these bills, to pay his bills, and to keep up to his or her responsibility, and to solve every problems and challenges. Like I said, the program is structured in three segments. The first segment has to deal with news or information based on government policies. To join me in this particular segment, which is going to be an analytical segment, is no any other person but Alaba Adeyemi. Please welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, our listeners. Good morning, Hyper FM.
Thank you very much. Like I earlier said, we are in the segment of the analysis. Recently, Mr. Alabadiyemi, there is this news that is trending now, and that is the new educational policy. I think it's all started from Imo State. Now is now trickling down to other states, and which has to do with the idea, or rather the concept, instituted by some private proprietors of schools, whereby there's going to be graduation from KG to nursery, from the nursery to the primary, and in fact from the primary to the secondary. You know, I did the calculation, and I discovered that before you can even graduate, before you can become a full-fledged student or a graduate, so to speak, you have to conduct nothing less than 5 to 6 graduation. And it has become an issue of concern, whereby various governments from other states are beginning to take the toll after what happened in Imo State. And I want to ask, the idea of scrapping this concept, won't it have a negative impact on the students that have probably witnessed what happened to his or her senior in last session, or to be told now that you can no longer celebrate or graduate from KG to nursery, or probably from nursery to primary, or from primary to secondary? What can you say regarding this? Thank you
very much. Let me first of all say that we should not thank the government for taking this step. They are not deserving of any thanksgiving or any appreciation, because if the Ministry of Education at the state level has been doing their job in the first instance, if government has been managing public schools well from the beginning, many of us who are speaking today attended public schools, but now it's a thing of shame in most cities when your friends ask you, which school does your child attend, and you say they attend a public school. Public school has now become a symbol of humiliation, a symbol of extreme poverty. It was not so before. If the government had managed the public schools well, maybe we have to go down the memory lane concerning the history of most of these public schools. Most of these schools we call public schools today were initially started by religious organizations, Christian religious organizations and Muslim religious organizations. Started these schools, managed them well. At a point, they were having issues with paying salaries and sometimes building infrastructures. In the early 70s, the Nigerian government came together and said government should take over those things, that those schools will retain their old names and religious identity, while government would regulate the curriculum and supply the teachers. In some of those schools, I know schools in some states that were taken over since 1972-73, and the government cannot account for one block of classroom in those public schools. They allowed the schools to rot. Because of that, necessity is the mother of all inventions. People began to start private schools. private schools began to thrive. And when private school began to thrive, private school owners began to see themselves as lords of the manor. They are constantly meeting to invent new ways to rip off helpless parents. So in the real sense, I have no thanksgiving I have no thank you for any government, because in this first instance it would not have happened. We would not have been subjected to this punishment by private schools owners if public schools were in good conditions. I went to a public school. I'm a proud product of a public school. But can I take my 5-year-old son to a public school now? I doubt it. I don't even pray that I will get to that level where I will take my 5-year-old son to a public primary school, because they are in rotten state. Now, however, when we look at it, we would say, well, maybe let's still thank them that at least they are waking up to their responsibility. But we are not done yet. When you make policies, in Nigeria, it is easy to make policies. I remember that some years ago, law enforcement agencies were chasing every bike man who is not wearing an helmet around. For about a period of 6 months, it was heavily enforced. In fact, commercial motorcycles were buying 2 helmets, one for themselves and one for the passenger they are carrying. But now, who is enforcing that rule again? So it is not just about making a declaration. How is this rule going to be enforced? And how long will the enforcement last before we all go back to sleep? Those are the questions we must ask ourselves. However, the question you actually asked was, is it going to have an impact in the life of the children? I sent my child to school to go and learn mathematics and English, CRS and integrated science. I didn't send him there to go and do graduation before he graduates. I didn't send him there for graduation. I didn't send him there. For example, I used to say myself, I don't expect my child to be taught Yoruba in school. I am a Yoruba man, full-blooded. I expect my children to, in fact, my children go to school speaking Yoruba. In fact, my children are the ones who speak Yoruba most in the school. In my house, Yoruba is the standard language, it's not the vernacular. It is the standard language of discussion in my home. You learn English in school. You learn your native tongue in your house. You learn how to read and write it and speak it in your house.
Is that right? So
the truth of the matter is that if there is any child who now says that he's having insomnia because he's not allowed to celebrate graduation from KG to nursery school, that child should be flogged. That child is unserious. That child is being unnecessarily pampered.
Now because of the question of how do you think a nursery school pupil, or maybe 3, or in fact in some cases, if I'm not mistaken, children these days start school maybe at the age of 1 or 2. How do you think he or she will feel now, not observing a graduation, something that he or she witnessed maybe the previous year, and all of a sudden, due to government policies, it has not been abrogated? How do you think such child will feel?
Mr. Presenter, our parents did not raise us on how we feel or how we felt. They raised us on what is good and what is bad. That is how we should raise our parents. If you raise your children on feeling, one day it will feel like stealing and will steal your money. You will feel like touching naked wire and you have a dead child in your hand. Nobody raised, no serious parent, no parent who is in his right mind raise babies on feelings. What are they supposed to feel? You need education, I give you education. You need food, I give you food. You need shelter, I pay the rent. You need house, I work my ass out to give you this thing. So it is not about your feeling.
Thank you very much.
It's about nonsense being introduced into our curriculum. What part of our curriculum says that a baby who can hardly even speak properly, who cannot string 5 sentences together, should be graduating from where to where? Graduation is a landmark. It's like asking a 10-year-old to get married. It's a remarkable stage in life. It should be a reward for effort, for a long-term effort. It should be a reward for dedication. Now, I don't expect somebody who has just written WAEC to be signing out. They now do it in secondary school. Children who will end up having maybe 8 F9 will be signing out. Well, and one good thing, I like the English people. One good thing about secondary education is that even if you eventually end up with 9 F9, they will say you passed out. So the reality is that such things should not be happening. We are creating a culture where people cannot delay gratification, where people cannot wait until the right time. So if you are asking my JSS3 son to do graduation, can he work with that certificate? That certificate they are going to give my nursery school, they gave one to my daughter recently, from nursery 2 to which work does it qualify her to do? That is the question. We have created a cesspool of corruption. We have allowed our government to sleep enough so that they don't maintain our schools well, so that non-state actors have now taken over the education industry and are making mincemeat of parents, of struggling parents. In fact, when the school tells you that your child's school fees is 35,000, but you look at balance is 70,000. They have added 25,000. What I paid for my children's graduation last term is almost half. It's more than half the real school fees.
Now, let me come in there, sir. Now, how do you not think these new policies can be implemented? Because we are talking about, most of these private school owners, we know some that have been astray, but there are some big shots that are in this industry. Let me put this around. Because it has now become an industry. Now, how do you think such policies can be implemented? Because it's very easy to implement such policies in some of these small upcoming private owned schools. But how can you now enforce its implementation in the well-established? Is what we both know. Because there's some big shot, there's some retired civil servants of high hierarchy that have already invested in such schools. So how do you think this policy can take effect on these schools?
Now, I have no doubt in my heart, up to this moment, that if government wants to enforce it, they have the capacity and the manpower to do so. My doubt is in how long can they sustain it, because we have a culture of complacency in our country. How long can they sustain it? Nobody is bigger than the government. Like boys used to say on the street, after God, na government. Nobody is bigger than government. It will take the government to shut maybe 2 schools per local government and everybody will comply. It's as simple as that. To use one person as an example, because somebody would attempt to break that rule. So the first 2 or 3 persons that attempt to break the rule, as far as you make an example of them, nobody would want to try it again. It's as simple as that.
Thank you very much. Now, what do you think could be the role of the parents in the implementation of this policy?
There's also something called civil disobedience. In freedom struggle, there's something they call civil disobedience. Civil disobedience is to disobey, to refuse to do something you consider unjust. In fact, it was Martin Luther King Jr. who said that it is morally just to disobey unjust laws. Now that the government has mentioned it now, I do not expect the proprietor of my children's school to ask me to come and do graduation for my child. I won't pay for it. I won't just pay. It's as simple as that. I will let that person know that I'm not paying. I have a friend who, until he left the source of the country, has children in the same school that my children attend, and they said they are doing ashade. He said it is his duty to teach his children his culture, not the duty of the school that he will not pay. They have no choice than to allow the children. For example, if you are a Jehovah Witness and somebody asks your daughter to come and pay for Father Christmas show, it is just to refuse to pay because you don't believe in Christmas. Or even if you are a Muslim and they say Father Christmas Christmas party, you have a right to say, no, I am a Muslim, I will not be paying for Christmas party. It is not, I do not reckon with the celebration. So parents also have a duty one, to inform the government when the law has been broken. Two, to refuse to be bamboozled into paying such money.
Thank you very much.
So everyone has a role to play.
Thank you very much. Now, the second question is this, concerning the curriculum, because it's what has been established now. We have various kind of publication. I mean, publishers out there. You know, by the time you know one or two persons in the Ministry of Education, you can easily influence your publication to be used as part of the school curriculum for the state. And there is a trending issue, and which has to do with the inability of inheritance. Let me put it that way. That probably your child, your first son, your second child cannot use the textbook used by the first child. You know, the system has been so boxed to the corner that hardly will you be able to say that, okay, use your brother's textbook, because they must have done everything in the textbook to the extent that it will become unusable again, apart from the first person that actually used it. So how do you think the government can equally enforce that change in the school curriculum, particularly regarding the use of textbooks?
Now, like I said the other time, all this problem came because the people who were employed and paid and appointed to do the right things have refused to do it in the first instance. Had the government not abandoned its duty, had those in the Ministry of Education, in the AEO's office and all sorts of offices that we have created, not refused to do their job, we will not be where we are today. Now we are at this juncture. A law has been passed. Now, all we need to do is to see that the law is enforced. The media has a job to do. You in the media has to also monitor that's the level of compliance to these new directives by the government. Now, this directive, we should also push the State House Assembly to also enact a law in this regard. Because like you spoke about Big Shot the other time, this is an official directive. It is not an act of parliament yet. It means that if there's a big shot somewhere, they go say, they give them expo. Who has enough money to spend can push this case to the court of law. They can argue that parents should buy one book for one child because of the changing environment and all those things like that. But all these things is hypothetical. However, we all have a job to do, to be vigilant, to report, to ensure that at places where we need to refuse, we refuse. Because the amount of money that parents are paying now to raise children, really for education, is high. Do you know that it's almost more expensive to send a child to a private nursery and primary school than to send a child to a public university? The cost of fees that they pay and all sort of added costs, unseen costs that you have to pay. So everyone has a job to do. The parent has a job to do. The government has a lot to do. Nobody is bigger than the government. So don't let anybody deceive you that anybody is bigger than the government. If the government wants to enforce a law, government will enforce that law. So this is a wake-up call to those in government to do the right thing.
Thank you very much. The program is still Education Today on your most listened to radio, iPower 102.7, Emrele Owo. Like we rightly said, it's just equally a phone-in program. So if you want to contribute to the program, the phone number to call in is 081 655 24699. Once again, 081 655 24699. I'm still on with Mr. Labadeyemi. Now, like we rightly said the other time, all parents too must be on the lookout. Now, can there be a cooperation? Can there be a synergy among the parents? Because I've come to observe one thing. By the time you want to push for something positive, there are some people that probably because of maybe they are financially buoyant, they still believe that, oh, this thing must continue. Because some schools will still go to the extent of calling a PTA meeting regarding the government policy. Now, in the course of doing that, I can assure you, some parents will still want to key into the idea of still celebrating this region of the thing. Now, what do you now think parents, let's say the parent that is not financially buoyant, that is in such PTA meeting, because the discussion we are holding now is a kind of, calling some of the parents' awareness to what they can do, how they can go about making sure that they are not in any way boxed to the corner regarding these new government policies. So what do you think you can advise the parents to do regarding this new policy?
Mr. Moderator. I am a thoroughbred Yoruba person. And the Yoruba would ask a rhetorical question. That you are poor, you don't have, you are not spiritually fortified, and your eyes are not also red. Then with what shall you defend yourself?
Can you please say that?
Oh, lowo, oh, loogun, ojú ẹ̀ ò tún pọ́n, kí ló fẹ́ fi gbèjà rẹ̀? Now, if you are broke and you don't have agídí to go with it, they will oppress you until you lose your life. Now, if you know that you are broke, for example, I am a beneficiary of used books. Used books. Being the last born, virtually every book that I used throughout my education were passed down to me by either my brothers, my neighbors, my father's friend, and people like that. Sometimes the books that I will use had been used by 4 or 5 persons. Now my children cannot even pass books to themselves because some person somewhere have decided. Do you know that even private schools have killed bookshop business because they now sell books directly? Now that they have undercut those who operate bookshops, should they also undercut parents who are supposed to be the ones at the receiving end of most of the inflation which they have caused? So what we are saying is that parents must speak up. That there is a law in town. Now our people would say, if I go and report him now, they will now lock the school. They can lock the school for 2 weeks. Come on, pé mi mo bá tèèyàn jẹ́, ṣùgbọ́n kò bá tèmi jẹ́. Is that what they are saying? I don't want to cause injury to others, but the others can cause injury to me because I am the downtrodden of the downtrodden. So the downtrodden, he who wears shoes knows where it pains. Let that person whom the shoe is paining, let him speak up that this shoe is paining me, so that he will not die with his pains. Because the government has at least taken a legitimate step now. It is now left for you to see that that rule is enforced to the letter by the school. And I don't know of any community or any local government where there is only one school today. There are always the options. That is the truth. Except if you are sending the school tuition free. I don't know any private school that operates tuition free for now. So if you are attending the school tuition free, you can continue without punishment. But for now, the people have to help the government. The government has to help the people. I'm urging the Ondo State government, and the people in the House of Assembly to ensure that this thing is not just a directive, that it is passed as a law.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Alabadi.
Thank you.
Now, I want to equally discuss briefly, though the discussion has been on for some time now, and this has to do with the idea of CBT for WAEC examination. Now, over time, I think JAMB has been using CBT for the conduct of their own examination. Now, WAEC now want to equally integrate the same thing into their own examination as well. Let us now consider the glitch that at times does happen when it comes to the issue of JAMB. How do you think that the use of CBT would bring about the paradigm shift in examination, particularly in Nigeria? How do you think that CBT could be or is it implementable? Is it workable? Putting into consideration the kind of system we find ourselves, when it comes to the kind of internet service, when it comes to the kind of provision that is being made, how do you think the use of CBT could make WAEC examination more credible?
Now let us look at this matter holistically. Holistically, one, is the CBT good? Yes, it's a fantastic idea. But is it practicable now? Of course, no. WAEC should not even be telling us about CBT now. They failed in the conduct of this year's WAEC, and they have not apologized enough to Nigerians. Our children wrote in war-torn area, in states where there is kidnapping on daily basis. Our children wrote the WAEC English paper at 9 o'clock. There are places where they wrote at 9. They wrote with lanterns. They should not be telling us about CBT. They should be apologizing to Nigerians every day. There should, if we were a country where people are willing to enforce their rights, they should be in court now, paying, waiting to pay billions to candidates who were frustrated because of that. A parent came to this station last week with the results of his children. Two children. He was trying to ask a staff here, whom I will not mention his name, if there is any school they could enter because they have passed JAMB. Both children failed just English. Both children failed English alone. They had distinctions in mathematics. They had distinctions in physics and chemistry. Now, that poor taxi driver now would have to go and cough out on that money to pay. We asked him why they didn't write NECO. He said he was struggling to look for the money. His brothers now said the children are brilliant, that naturally they would pass WAEC. But WAEC is here telling us about CBT exams. We are not asking questions enough. And our religious leaders we must blame them for it. They have raised us to be docile. We are not asking questions enough. That poor man left here dejected last week, wondering where he's going to find money to register those children again. If the children have the capacity to pass mathematics and physics at distinction level and chemistry at distinction level, I don't think any such child will not be able to get a CC if they have written the exam confidently. You're not telling us about CBT. How do a child in Obashoto, who has never seen a computer before, write the CBT exams? How do a child in Abashokoto in a federal or local government, how do you expect him to cope? There are schools in Edo State. If there is a need to mention names, I will mention names. They don't have more than 2 teachers, 3 teachers. Now you are not talking about CBT. CBT is good, but we favor city dwellers. It will favor children raised in good, in rich homes over children raised in farms, in camps. And it is not a sin to be born in the village. None of us chose to be born anywhere. We just found ourselves there. So it will further widen the gap between the rich and the poor in the future. So WAEC should at least master how to conduct English exam first. Because this year they proved to us that they have not mastered it.
Is it only English examination that is having issue?
At least that is the one we have evidence. Okay. Before they begin to tell Nigerians about conducting CBT exam, they should master the act of writing normal exam first. They have not mastered it. After about almost 100 years, they are still learning work. They should not use our children to learn work. It's as simple as that. They should not be telling us, come on,
let me come in there, please. But over time, JAMB has actually proven, except for what just happened this year, that the
JAMB exam is a one-day exam. WAEC is a 3 weeks, 4 week exams. It's an exam that involves pouring chemicals together. It's an exam that involves longer calculations. And if you are a smart child, if you are working maths, you can figure out in a multiple choice this thing that this is likely the answer. This is not likely the answer. It's a theory exams normally. So they should not experiment with the future of our children.
Thank you very much.
To write paper exams is not a crime. The other option they have is that give students options to choose whether they want to write CBT or they want to write on paper. They paid. Are they going to reduce the cost? No. They are not going to reduce the cost. They should not experiment with people's life. I pity that man. Yesterday, last week when he came here. The man looked dejected. So this is the problem. They should just suggest things to us because of this thing. Let them master how to write paper exam first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alabadele Adeyemi. The program is still Education Today on your most listened radio, iPower 102.7 Emreile Owo. We've been on regarding the issue of educational policies, and I think Mr. Alabadeyemi has done reasonable justice to that. But so our phone number is 081-655-24699. Once again, 081-655-24699. We come back again after this short break. Sir, lẹ́yìn ilé sir, parting shot ní màá béèrè. Sir, lẹ́yìn ilé parting shot ní màá béèrè. You're welcome back to the program, Education Today. So, Mr. Alabadeyemi, I would want you to give us a parting shot concerning the two topics we've discussed and how to go about implementing any of the policies that you think will be more viable, more suitable, and more convenient for both parents, schools, and the pupils as well.
I will only ask those in government to do their job. The job they are doing, they are not doing us a favor. They are being paid more than most of us to do the job. So let everybody do the job is elected to do or appointed to do. And let parents also be up and doing. And let those who own private schools also be humane with parents, especially at this time. May God bless our country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alabadeyemi. The program is still Education Today. Like I said, yeah, it's segmented. Now, the second segment will be dealing with the beauty of literature. Like we said, we'll be having the opportunity to read to your listening pleasure publications from either foreign or local publishers. Today, we'll be reading from the book of Professor Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart. But our time is fast spent, so we are just going to give you an introduction of whom Chinua Achebe is. Chinua Achebe, born in 1930, was brought up in a Christian evangelical family in the large family of Ogidi, one of the first center of Anglican missionary work in Igboland, eastern Nigeria. After studying medicine and literature at the University of Ibadan, he went to work for the Nigerian Broadcasting Company in Lagos. His career in radio ended abruptly in 1996 when he left his position as Director of External Broadcasting during the national upheaval and massacre that led to the Biafran War. He had narrowly escaped confrontation with armed soldiers who apparently believed that his Snowdell, a man of the people, implicated him in Nigeria. Nigeria's first military coup. His career as a university academic began in 1967 with his appointment as a senior research fellow at the University of Nigeria. He was made emeritus professor in 1985. After universities, he taught at include the University of Massachusetts and the University of Connecticut. Achebe has received numerous honors from different parts of the world, including over 30 honorary degrees from universities across the world. In 1987, he received Nigerian highest award for intellectual achievements, the Nigerian National Merit Award. In 2002, he was awarded the prestigious Peace Prize of the German Book Trade. In 2007, he was named the winner of the Man Booker International Prize in honor of his literary career. Achebe is the author of many novels, short stories, essays, and children's books. Things Fall Apart. His first novel was published in 1958. It was followed by No Longer at Ease, 1960, Arrow of God, 1964, which won the first New Statesman Joe Campbell Prize, and A Man of the People, 1996. Antilles of the Savannah was shortlisted for the Booker McConnell Prize in 1987. His book of poetry, Beware Soul Brothers, won the Commonwealth Poetry Prize in 1972. Like we rightly said, our time is fast spent. All we can do today is just to bring to you or to introduce to you the personality of Chinua Achebe. In our next segment, we will start reading Things Fall Apart to your listening pleasure from chapter to chapter. And after this, if at all there's any contribution you want to make to the program, like rightly said, it's always a phone-in program. So for today, we're calling it a short. Mr. Abadiemi, I want to say a very big thank you to you for coming to this program.
Thank you very much.
And to me, I want to say a big thank you to the general manager of this great station, in person of Engineer Paul Olotu, the head of programs, Elijah Oluwarotimi. Also, my amiable head of news and current affairs, Mr. Alaba, for always being there, for being very supportive. Head of marketing, Mr. Akonwo, and the studio manager, MTK, Motirola, and every other crew that has contributed in one way or the other for the success of this program. That's a very big thank you to every one of you. Join us again next week for another exciting segment of your most listening, educating, and entertaining program, Education Today. From my own end here, I am AKIN ADEBAYO. Thank you and God bless.